We should title this Writing Equations. Yeah. So, like I said, we're going to do this in two different ways. So, today it's all using the form y equals mx plus b. Okay. Which is ultimately what it's going to end up in. Okay. If you write an equation, it'll ultimately be written in y equals mx plus b. You just don't necessarily have to start that way. And so that will be up to you. But like I said, before we leave class on Monday, you will have had to make a decision moving forward from that point. Okay. So we don't have a ton to go through today. We are going to look at this idea in two different ways. What if I give you the slope? What if I don't give you the slope? What else do you need in order to be able to write the equation? So a second ago, I asked you to think, what are the two things that you need in order to be able to write an equation? You need, and you got to know those two things. So if you know them, great, you can write the equation. If you don't know them, how do you find them in order to be able to write the equation? You should be able to tell me how to find one of those things right now. Okay, so if I have a picture, I could, or if I had a table, if it was one of the points, I could find it that way. Good, I'd look for a value of 0 in which column, X or Y? In the X. Good, James? Good. So if you're given 2 points, if you thought about y2 minus y1 and x2 minus x1, you could find your slope that way. All right. So how do I generate those two pieces of information? That's really our question today. So just for a second, which one of those is the correct choice, given the information that you see? Allison? A? Okay. What about here? Jessica? Oh, faked me out. Faith? Okay. Charlotte? See? Okay. With Charlotte? Okay. See? Okay. So as you look at those 4 choices right now, and you look at that equation, y equals 3x plus 1, what's the first thought you have when you're trying to match it to a picture? Like, what are you looking to check first? Okay, so you're looking for a y-intercept of 1? Okay. Anybody else go a different route? I don't disagree with you. However, I thought of it differently. Cody? That's kind of in my mind where I went first. And I think both of those things obviously need to be a part of our thought process. But if our slope is positive 3, I better be looking for a graph that does what? Goes uphill. All right. And if I'm looking for a y-intercept of 1, obviously I want to see it cross at 1. So the one that checks both of those boxes would have to be choice C. Now, if I had multiple pictures that check those boxes, then I'd have to get into probably counting my rise and run. But in this case, these are the only two that are positive, C and D, and that one doesn't start at 1, so we'd get that piece. All right, so here's our goals for today. They're really almost one and the same. Whether or not you're given a slope, which is half of what you need, or if you're only given 2 points on the graph, where do I go from there? So that's what we're going to take a look at. It shouldn't take us too long. This idea in its most fancy terms is called linear extrapolation. Basically what we're doing is expanding out to write a general form for something that we don't have in the first place, kind of giving it like a what's the easiest way to say this? Like we're kind of giving it a formula, I guess, in a sense. So like 2 pieces of the information and you're kind of expanding it out. All right. It's a fancy way of putting it, I suppose. So what if that's the information you're given? You know it goes to the point 2, -3, and it has a slope of 1/2. I'm looking for what? Well, am I looking for both those things, to be honest? I really just need the y-intercept, right? Can you think about how I could find it? Anybody? Alexis? Okay. I could plot the. Anybody got graph paper? Uh-oh. Emily does have a sheet of graph paper. All right. So if you plotted the point 2 and -3 on that graph paper, do I have graph paper? Well, of course I do. Yeah, I do. Oh, you want me to do it for you? Oh, right. Thank you. Does does it plot, Emily? Okay. If you're like, I don't know, did I do it? That's hard to say. Were you able to find the y-intercept? If you followed the path of up 1 and to the right 2, while the 23 of us others sit here and wait patiently for you? No? Oh, you don't know? Okay. Is it what? Are you asking me? Huh? The answer's here? The answer is not here. That's another problem. Oh. What, Brooke? What do you think? Uh-huh. I wish this video had video so we could see that image you just put on right there. Okay. Hold on. What did you think it was? -7, -4, -4. Yeah, cheaters, I'll tell you what. This is what you guys really wanted, right? You were going to sit around until I brought that out, right? Yeah. All right, now you do it for me, and then I'll just tell you if you're right or not. Yeah. So if you started with the point 2 and -3, over 2 and down 3, and a slope of 1 over 2, right there. You see it? I might have to drop this video. All right. So 2 and -3, right? Slope of 1 over 2 would say go up and to the right. However, that's not leading me to the y. So go the other way. So down and to the left. And it does look like Charlotte was correct. That value should be a -4. So knowing that, you would say that the equation of this line is what? Allison? Very good, right? You know the slope is 1/2, and you know the y-intercept is -4, so y equals 1/2 x minus 4. What's up? Okay, so let's play the what ifs. What if I don't have graph paper, right? Some of us don't. Can you think of another scenario where this idea, even though here it worked great, wouldn't always be the case? Can you think of another time when that's not going to play well? I can think of 2 other scenarios that maybe are not good. Well, if it's 0, though, what's your y-intercept? So you got it there. It's like a direct variation. You know what I mean?
Couldn't you just like subtract like the slope from the pair?
Yeah, that's kind of what you're doing, right? I mean, essentially, kind of trying to, remove 1 from your y's and 2 from your x's and see if you can get yourself back to that. I'll be honest with you, if I try to do that in my head, I got too many other crazy things going on in my brain to hold numbers as I move, which is yeah, like I don't disagree with you. I don't know that my brain would do it well. You got an idea? Oh, good talk. What's up? Oh, okay. So this ordered pair of 2 and -3, over 2 and down 3. It's this point right here, right? So the slope was 1/2. So 1/2 would say to go up 1 and to the right 2, or it would say go down 1 and to the left 2, right? Negative over negative. So that value right there is my y-intercept. right? It's down 1, 2, 3. It's down 4 units. So that's where that -4 there would have come from. So, but we're just really at this point talking about like, is this really my best idea? And we said, well, what if we don't have graph paper? Number one. What if the ordered pair you're given doesn't even fit on the graph paper that you possibly even have? Like that would not be good. What's up? Okay, so you could get into this, yeah, where you're trying to like expand your graph paper, right? Yeah, yeah. Okay, if you had your computer with you, right? Obviously, you could go that route. What if you graph it and when you're done graphing it, like it's in there? Like let's say, let's say it crosses, but it's not at a whole value. Like what does that tell you? Does it mean it's a half? You would like to believe that, right? But I mean, I don't think it's unrealistic to imagine you having an ordered pair here and another one there and connecting those two together and now trying to say, well, great, there's my y-intercept, and what is that? Do you know what I mean? Like that could easily happen to you, right? I mean, you can see a rise of 1, 2, 3, and a run of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So your slope's 3/8, and all of a sudden now you got a y-intercept and you can't tell what it is. Are you with me on that as being a very viable possibility that could take place? So we got to come up with some other way that I can still get that answer there without having to rely on having graph paper, it fitting on the graph paper, and if it checks those boxes, crosses at a value that I can actually read. That's a lot of what ifs to take place. Yes? So there's another route, and that's what we're going to look at today. So if we take this stuff away, so we have a little bit of space, we're ultimately trying to write an equation that looks like what? What are we trying to make it look like? Okay, so that's exactly what we're going to start with. All right, we're going to start with that equation, y equals mx plus b. It's got how many variables in it, Faith? Keep trying. 4, right? I mean, it's got a y, an m, an x, and a b. It's got 4 variables in it. Hopefully, you would agree that if I could fill in 3 of them, I should be able to find the 4th. Would you agree with that statement? That if I filled in 3 of them, I should be able to find the 4th. Allison does not agree with that statement, but she will here momentarily. I think right now, if you look at the information that was given to you, you could tell me what m is equal to, right? What's m equal to? A half, right? M is a half. Okay, so let's do that. Let's replace m with 1/2. I think if you look at the information given to me, you could even tell me what y is equal to. -3. You were told a value of y. I'll bet you could even tell me what x is equal to, and you would say 2, right? Because that ordered pair is an x and a y. In fact, if I told you the equation of the line, you would use the x and the y to check to see if an ordered pair worked or not. Well, in this situation, I'm not checking for an ordered pair. I'm going to use the ordered pair to help me find something else. Now I've fulfilled 3 of the 4 things. You should be able to tell me what b is equal to by simply solving this. What is a half times 2? It is 1. So I'm left with -3 is equal to 1 plus b. What are you going to do now? You're going to. So what am I going to do? Like if I'm going to finish solving that, what's the last thing I have to do? Subtract the 1. So if I minus the 1 to the other side, it would tell me that B is equal to -4. Well, there's B, right? There's M. And so now I've algebraically figured out what those two pieces were without relying on having graph paper, having ordered pairs that fit on the graph, and having a y-intercept that was guaranteed to cross at something I could read. You kind of understand where I'm headed? What's up? Right here, this order pair. That order pair is an x value and a y value. So I can use those. If I know that that's a part of the line, then that means that ordered pair is guaranteed to be a solution. It works. It checks out. So if it's true, then I can use it to help me find something else. Okay? There's 4 missing parts there. If you can fill in 3 of them, you can always find the 4th. Doesn't matter which one it is. If you can find 3 of them, you can, or if you have 3, you can find the 4th. Okay? So I want you to kind of follow that idea with this one here. So think about using that equation, y equals mx plus b. Fill in all the pieces that you got. You already got an answer? Oh, you so smart. I like your t-shirt this morning. The worm. You just trying to hand gesture your answer to me, didn't you? I wasn't even paying attention. But just now I figured out what the heck you were doing. I was like, what? Is he dancing or something? Okay. No. All right. Now I understand. I was like, what? You're saying it's negative. Okay. Everybody with their own crazy hand signals, I got to try to figure them out. Right, we are substituting into the equation y equals mx plus b. Fill in all the things that you know. Hunter, what's up? Okay, so y is a 5, m is a -2, x is a -4, and we're going to try to figure out what b is. So that looks like 5 is equal to 8 plus b. Maybe just look at that right now and say, well, obviously b has to be a -3, right? Or, I mean, obviously you can just subtract the 8 away and get -3 is equal to b. So the only thing you have left to do here is you got to make sure that you actually do what was asked of you. So if you have -3 as a y-intercept, that's great, but your equation is what? It is, very good, y equals -2x minus 3. Okay? So if I give you an ordered pair and the slope, then you can find the equation of your line by following that path. What's up? From there. Right? Because you got to know 2 things. You got to know what your slope is, and you got to know what your y-intercept is. So if I give you one of them, then obviously that's guaranteed to be a part of your answer. You just got to figure out the other one. Okay? So the other thing we're going to look at is, well, what if I don't give you either? Now, we no, it's well, we've just kind of added just one layer. James already told us that if you were given 2 points, you would do what first? You would. Okay. So number 1 on my list is I got to use y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 to find my slope. So give it a second, see if you can't figure out what your slope is, and then where will you go from there? Think about what was needed from me a minute ago once I had my slope. Now you be careful though, because there's a bunch of negatives in there. So when you start subtracting negatives, what are you really doing? You're adding. So be careful there. Listen, nobody likes a complainer. All right. Oh darn. Yeah. If you have the slope, you're still missing what? Okay, so if I know what my slope is, but do you know what your slope is yet? You need to use your slope and what to find the y-intercept. And another point. But you have 2 points. You pick one. So you literally pick one. It makes no difference. They're both part of the same line. So, I mean, my suggestion would be pick the one that looks easier. In this case, unfortunately, they're both negative, so that doesn't make anything nicer. Like, if one of them was all positive, I'd pick that one. Okay? If it's 2 negatives versus 1 negative, I'd pick the 1 negative. But in this case, they're both negative, so whatever. Okay? Once you know what your slope is, whatever you get there, take that and one of your order pairs and plug them in, and you should be able to figure out the whole thing. No? For your actual equation, right? So remember, when you have minus minus, that really becomes a plus. Now, I would always tell you, right, if you're going to deal with a slope, you should leave it as a fraction. But in this case, I'm not actually graphing it, I'm just using it. So if you don't want to write it as -4/1, you could move forward with this just being a -4 because you're not graphing it. So you don't really need to worry about the rise and the run. But now you know your slope. So take that information and pick one of these points. I don't know, I'll just use that one and figure out what your y-intercept is. Because right now you only know what half of your equation looks like. The only thing I know right now is that my equation starts out like that. I just don't know the y-intercept yet. So part 2 here would be to plug into y equals mx plus b. So -4 is my y. -4 over here is my m. There's my x, -3. And I'm trying to figure out what b is. So I'm left with -4 is equal to 12 plus b. Yes, ma'am? Correct. So you are going to minus 12 from both sides, and negative 16 is your b, which means back here in my equation, there's the other half of it. Now that's one of those situations where negative 16 would cross just fine on your graph. Problem is you got to have 16 spaces down in order to see it. So you may run into trouble there because you just don't have it. Okay. So if you're given a slope, then you're basically starting at the second level. If you're not given the slope, you got to start here and find that first and then go that route. Okay? All right, try this one, and then we're going to look at our last example and we're done. Yes. Correct. Sure is. Sort of. I didn't even see it, to be honest with you. I looked at all that. So give me this back. But there's still one issue in there, and I'll talk to you about that in a second. Remember, first part, you need to figure out what your slope is. Then take your slope and one of your ordered pairs and figure out what your y-intercept is. In this situation, my suggestion would be to use the 3 and the 4. There's no negatives involved there. That's what I have so far for a slope. Does that match what you have? Essentially, you're looking at 4 plus 2, which give you a 6. 3 minus 6 give you a negative 3. Divide that, you're at negative 2. So that's telling me right now my equation is going to look like that to start until I figure out that second piece. Does that jive with what you have so far? Yes, no? So now it's using this information and one of those ordered pairs. Like I said, my suggestion is I use that one. And I fill in accordingly. Yes, sir? Which order pair did you use? Then there's, well, so remember, you're plugging into y equals mx plus b. The first thing you need is the y. What is y in this order pair? It's not, okay. You're given all the choices at this point. What is y? It's 4. I mean, if that's x and that's y, then you should be writing 4 is equal to m is negative 2, x is 3, and you want to figure out what b is. Declan? What is it? 10. Very good. So you're looking at 4 is equal to 6 plus negative 6, excuse me, plus b. And then you would be adding the 6 to both sides. So b is equal to 10. So up here, That's a plus 10. So there's your equation. Y equals negative 2x plus 10.
I put negative 6 on both sides because I looked that short.
Uh-huh.
And for the last one I did, it was negative 4 on both sides.
Because the y value was a negative 4, but our slope was also a negative 4. Yes, Faith. Because when I multiplied negative 2 times 3, that was negative 6.
Oh, I didn't see the negative.
So then I had to add the 6. Had it been a positive 6, I would have subtracted. All right. All right, last one. What is this? Words? I know. So during 1 year, Malik's cost for self-serve regular gas $3.20 at the beginning of June, $3.42 by the beginning of July. Write a linear equation to predict Malik's cost of gas for the first of any month during the year. If they're saying use a 1 to represent January, give me an ordered pair that works for June. Go ahead and finger count till you get to the month of June. It's a 6. So am I writing 6 comma $3.20, or am I writing $3.26 comma 6? 320. Did I say that right? 320 comma 6. You want to flip flop it? Remember, your time is always an X value. Always. Doesn't matter if time is seconds, minutes, weeks, months, years, centuries. Time is an independent variable. So in this particular case, we're going to put the 6 in the X value because it stands for a time value. In this case, months. And we're going to put the amount is the Y value. All right. And then obviously July would be the 7th month, and it'd be $3.42. So see if you can do this. Okay, we're about to draw stars. There we go. Can I write an equation to represent that? Meaning, can I find the slope and can I find the y-intercept? You said no. What do you got to find first? You got to find the slope first. Because you don't have enough information, think you want to plug into y equals mx plus b. You're going to need to know what m is so you can fill that as one of your spots. We wouldn't be able to find both. Do you need, are you done already?
Yeah.
So your final equation is what?
That. So, oh, yeah, you're right.
Good. That's what it'll be if you finish writing. That's it. Very good. So remember, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Which would leave you with 0.22 over 1, or in this situation, we could say 0.22. What is that 0.22 representing? Do you know? Do you know what it is? It is cents, but what is it standing for?
The cost increase.
Good, right? That the gas is essentially going up 22 cents every month. So there's part of your answer. You know your equation has got to be y equals 0.22x, and then what's the y-intercept? Faith, you think you know what it is? No, not yet. It looks like we're still working. So just you think you have it? Okay. Does your y-intercept start with $1 something? What's that? It it didn't. What do you got? No, your y-intercept.
Oh.
So yes, it did. Does it matter which ordered pair you use to find your y-intercept? No. So pick whichever one you feel like is an easier situation here. Probably. They seem to be smaller values. I think it probably makes more sense. So in this situation, y is $3.20 is equal to m, which is 0.22 times x, which is a 6, and figure out b. Be careful there. I try to write my 6 and my b different, and they almost look more similar the harder I try not to. So be careful. This would leave me with $3.20 is equal to what is 0.22 times 6? Is that $1.32? Is that right? So 1.32 plus b, and then you'll find the last thing, Faith, by doing what? Okay. All right, and you'll get, okay, so b is equal to $1.88. So if I come back up here, should I write plus 188 or should I put minus 188? I should put plus 188. All right. So that would be the equation that I would use for any month. If I wanted to know what the price of the gas was going to be in February, what would I do with that equation? February. My birthday month. That's why I chose it. Just write that down. February what? 6th. Beat you. Put a 2 in for the X. If you wanted to know what the price of gas was going to be in November, you would put an 11 in for the X. What would the Y be? Like your answer comes out to be, let's just put in the 2 for February. If you put a 2 in right there, what do you get? Grab your calculator real fast. What do you get? Jess, what do you get? 0.44, but then you have to do what with that 44 cents? So add it to the $1.88. Hunter, you get $2.32. What does that mean? That in the month of what? In the month of February, you could expect gas to be roughly how much? $2.32. Okay. Roughly. What's up?
What if they wanted you to do like the month? Because it increases every month when you subtract.
To do what?
You're trying to find the month of like February of like that 6.
Sure. So because it said here that this was going to be a linear representation, you would almost have to imagine that at the beginning of the year, gas was somewhere down there. And so even though we were originally given information between June and July, once I found that line, then I could go backwards. This answer better be less than where I was at, right? Because the line was moving in that direction, so to speak. All right. So before I see you on Monday, I think that's a total of 5 or 6 questions. So whether you want to do it today during study hall or whether you want to do it in advisory or I don't know, Sunday during the Browns game, who knows? What did I do